Trying to end this three-game skid. Third down and a mile. Hurt steps up and delivers. Oh, perfect strike. Will that change things for the Eagles?
I think we've shown that as this team's resilient, right? We have resilient guys. We've had to show that a bunch this year. Sure, we'd love to be winning by multiple scores, but that's not the reality of the NFL sometimes. And so I think you have a resilient team because of the resilient leaders that we have on this team. And so we were able to overcome, but to do the things we want to do, we can't make those mistakes. And again, like I said, that's always going to start with me.
Hey y'all, on this episode, we have a great friend of the show, great friend in general, OJ Spivey from the Philadelphia Tribune, which is actually, I did my research here, is the oldest continuously published African-American newspaper in the United States, in the whole country. Began in 1884. OJ, you cover all sports and culture over at the Philly Tribune. What's the vibes like in the city after the Birds? You know, they have gotten reacquainted with the W column. So is there any kind of change in how folks feel?
Yeah, I think it's more. Most of the time when you win a game, it's like, okay, yeah, we won, victory mode, everything was back on track. But it's more of a relief. And again, going back to what Mike Schmidt said, Philadelphia, the only town where you can, go through the thrill of victory and then had an agony of reading about it the next day. So
absolutely, we were talking about the pick.
Second down and 20. That is picked up. Adoree Jackson changing this game.
You asked Jalen Hurts on Monday after the game about the fact that Dallas Goedert slips and falls. If you don't know ball or if you didn't watch the game, you don't know that was a slip and fall that forced the pick six. It wasn't just Jalen makes a bad decision or makes the wrong read or throws a bad ball. The ball is exactly where you want Dallas Goedert to catch that ball if he doesn't slip and it becomes a pick six. Those kind of things happen. I think this year that Jalen is having a lot of these moments going in the wrong direction, whereas last year they were going in the right direction. But you know, do you think that the Birds go streaking? Do you think that the trajectory of this season changes for the Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to, given the opponents, of course, beating the Giants. This past week, and then final home game against Jonathan Gannon and the Cardinals, and then they have to go up the Turnpike to play the Giants once again. Always seems like in the season with the Giants, right? But I just think they're on a track going forward, kind of what Jalen Hurts said, that there's I don't want to say there's progress, but there's movement. And also, to quote Byron Leftwich, the former quarterback and Tampa Bay offensive coordinator, when he talked about not being hired as a African-American head coach, he said you have to be careful not to confuse movement with progress. And I think that's kind of where the Eagles are going in the direction. And you could tell because you saw what happened on the sidelines, and that could be any given week, because we saw something similar with the Kansas City Las Vegas game. Yep. Andy Reid actually nudged Travis Kelce. You didn't get anything physical on the Eagles sideline. But everybody's in the heat of the moment. I think just all the tension that is built up over this last month, that is built up over this 3-game losing streak, I just think that all that is just festering. And you do have a lot of egos in that locker room. And I think Sirianni has an ego himself. He's a very, proud person. But when we went into that locker room after the game, you could just say the first thing we saw was Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith having a one-on-one conversation at Smith's locker. And that's something we have not seen before in these past 2 years. And you saw the interview that I did with Devontae Smith. Everybody was, of course, had all the cameras and the microphones at his locker. And he was very adamant saying that, we got to get this right. We got to get this communication right. We got to get everything right. And, I kind of pressed him on, okay, where's that communication coming from? He pretty much said it's collective and it's on all of them. But, this is on a track for them to get things right. And I know we've heard that term, clean things up. We even heard that from Sirianni.
Yes.
Clean things up. But I just think getting a victory, as crazy as it was, you saw a couple fluke plays, like you said, the interception, the muffed kickoff.
Those are balls that just don't go against the Eagles last year. The Eagles were having things happen in their favor like that.
Right.
Even near interceptions from Jalen were not turning into interceptions. Now that one is a pick six where he doesn't actually, there were a lot of those, like in the Vikings game and all of these different games, the Patriots game.
Yeah, a lot of fluke or freak turnovers. They have been careless. I mean, we saw that with the Dallas game.
Oh, that was horrible.
But just to summarize it, somebody had asked me on Threads when I posted all of their statistics and what Hurts, Smith, Brown, and even DeAndre Swift, what they're on track to be. You already have 2 1,000-yard receivers. Swift is going to get his 1,000 yards, and Jalen may have his first 4,000-yard season if he, gets 364 yards in these last 2 games. So it doesn't, when you look at the stats, it doesn't seem like a drop off, but I think it's just been a harder road and more of a grind. And I attest that to the opponents that they've played. I attest that to how the opponents are, I want to say targeting is not the right word, but
yeah, absolutely. You're getting people's best shot. You're getting people's best
all
shot.
Their best shots, and whether they're good teams, bad teams, and they struggle. And I think both the team and I think both fans as well are kind of frustrated and maybe kind of spoiled because last year it did seem to come more easier.
Yep.
And what I'm going to probably write in my my article this week as I preview the Cardinals and the Eagles is, okay, it hasn't been as flawless. It hasn't been as crisp. You see more turnovers. But I think also, too, this year the Eagles have taken more chances. And today, as I was crunching the numbers, I was looking at Jalen's numbers. I mean, he's already thrown the ball 50 more times than he has last year. Mm-hmm. He also has more.
For a little bit fewer yards, about the same number of yards.
Right. So everything's just still on track. But then you look at A.J. Brown's yards passing. He's probably going to break his own record, his own franchise record for receiving yards. Devontae Smith with another 1,000-yard season. He may break his own mark. He may not get as many catches, but he may break his own mark. And Brown may even break Zach Ertz's franchise record for catches, which I think is 116. So, they're on track. The stats kind of match what their 11-4 record is. And I even said before the season that they're going to be 13-4 because I say, okay, you maybe add in another loss or two, but also I want to add, Matt, that you look at every other team in the league, short of Baltimore, San Francisco, and Detroit. If you're going to say, especially if you're a long-suffering fan from another market, if you're going to say my team is 11-4 and they have control of their division and also have an outside shot to have a top seed, you would take that any day. But hey, this is Philadelphia, so we want more.
30-5 in the last 35 regular season games. 30-5. That's
30-5.
That's ridiculous.
Like we talked about before. That's those are numbers that you've only seen in college. Listen, I mean, you lose 5 games in college, you might get fired as a coach over 2 years. One of my favorite sayings, this is from a long time ago when Lou Holtz coached Notre Dame, the Jerome Bettis days and, all that. I remember, and this is during the day, way before college football playoff, the BCS, you just relied on the polls, the coaches' polls and the AP polls. And one year Notre Dame finished second. So Lou Holtz said, listen, if I finish number 2 on the polls, I'm an idiot. But if a guy finished last in his class in medical school, they call him doctor. So, I mean, this is kind of what we've been accustomed to here in Philadelphia these last couple years. And I mean, we've only been, 3 years removed from that 4-11-1 season. And, and getting to the Super Bowl, period, it's just so difficult. It's difficult for a team that hasn't been there. It's even more difficult for a team to not only go to the Super Bowl and win, it's that much more difficult for a Super Bowl runner-up to even get back to the playoffs the following year.
Absolutely.
And as I've said from the very beginning, history is not on the Eagles' side. So
no,
as flawed as
injuries have not been either.
Right, injuries is for them to be, when you look at that, and again, I don't want to minimize their issues both offensively, defensively, coaching, but if you consider it all, if you just stack it all up and you consider all, you put it on a bulletin board like you're trying to solve a crime or something like that.
That's right.
If you just lay everything out, for them to be 11-4 is actually remarkable. I mean, of course, nobody wants to have a 3-game losing streak, but you have other teams in this league who has lost 3 in a row. San Francisco lost 3 in a row.
One team in football has a better record than the Eagles.
Right.
One team,
and that's Baltimore. Right. And you talk to some Ravens fans before the San Francisco game, they tend to worry about their inconsistency at times, especially on offense.
Right.
But they're running on all cylinders. But for them to be 11-4, considering, it's kind of remarkable. But that's not something anybody wants to hear, because, and I even crunched the numbers even more when you look at some of the 2 games that they maybe should have won, but they lost. Of course, Seattle, and then the New York Jets, which we could, we could immediately say that they're either mediocre or inferior teams. You're talking about 13-2 as opposed to 11-4. I mean, that's really a tight shift. So maybe that's what people were looking for, 11-2 instead of 13-2 as opposed to 11-4.
What this gauntlet of a season, I mean, it is hard to win in the NFL in general. It's hard to win football at any level. They take it down to Pop Warner and to actually have everything click and put together to actually win a football game. It's a brutal sport, and things happen over the course of a season. People get hurt. People have things come up in their families. People get sick, like Jalen was sick in the Seahawks game. Like you said, you line things up. And it is remarkable that they're 11-4. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
You hope that you're getting close, right? You hope that you're getting close at this point. We know we got better football in us, to be 11-4 and still have better football left in you. That's encouraging. But let's go. We got to get there. We got to get there too. And saying we got 2 more games before the playoffs start.
All right, we're back. OJ, let me say that I time traveled and we're watching, and I'm telling you that I watched the Cardinals versus Eagles at 1:00 on Sunday, and they beat the Eagles. How do you think that happened?
They couldn't curtail Kyler Murray. He probably had around close to 100 yards rushing, maybe 2 touchdown passes, 1 rushing. They just couldn't stop Kyler Murray. I mean, I don't really see. I mean, you throw in a Jonathan Gannon factor. A lot of times when you face a former coach or a former coordinator, and they're now, driving the steering wheel as a head coach somewhere else. Of course, he's going to try and put in some wrinkles or try to confuse or try to outthink Nick Sirianni, because they've battled for 2 prior years.
This game means something.
Yeah.
It's not just a throwaway game. I mean, if Jonathan Gannon comes into Philadelphia and leaves with the dub, people are going to be pissed. People are going to be booing. Very, very frustrated leaving. There's a lot of day left. There's like it's like 4:30 when they leave the lake on Sunday. So
the only way I'll say that it may not be an important game if Arizona's already looking at, okay, we're trying to position ourselves in the top 5. That's the only way. But and I'm not sure whether
they got to find out if Kyler is the guy. I don't know if I know.
Well, he's signed.
Kyler is their guy. Yeah,
he's under contract. I mean, it's even if he's not their guy, it's going to be difficult to unload him. And then you're going to
people will take a Kyler. People will take it.
Perhaps, and it depends on the price. Because you're already going to have probably half a dozen teams that's going to look for a quarterback anyway. That's just by default.
Chicago, they're going off. They might be offloading Justin Fields. I mean, there's a lot of. There's going to be a chorus.
Which would be insane, by the way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I agree with you. I didn't mean to derail you there, but I'm glad we agree on the Justin Fields thing.
That would be insane.
They would be out of their minds. They've been waiting to get this guy. Now what? Just go get a Marvin Harrison. What do we got to do? Figure it out.
Yeah, you're going to have a top 5, top 10 draft pick. Use it for capital because you're going to need the help. So, surround them with more. But anyway, going back to Arizona,
Kyler Murray, being the guy.
Yeah, it would just be a case where they wouldn't be able to take care of Kyler Murray. But I don't think even with Jonathan Gannon's just best scheme, I just don't see it. And for me, I just think a true get back game or get right or have a good clean game. I think this is the week to do it. Arizona's probably not going to want to even make this trip. Who knows what the weather's going to be. And these guys may be already looking at vacation. But again, if you're the Eagles, you still can't take them for granted.
Nope.
Because
I would expect to get their best shot, just like they begin from everybody.
Any freak play, any freak turnover can kind of make things close. But again, I'm just leaning more so on the side that this game will go a long way to getting the Eagles right and getting them more confidence, and them airing out communication issues or whatever it is that's going on in that locker room that they're not allowing us to see. They'll be able to kind of get right this next week against Arizona. So I don't know think we got the spread or anything, but Eagles haven't covered the spread a lot this year, I don't think. But
no, they didn't cover against the Giants.
Right. I didn't think they would, but because it's just being a division game.
Absolutely.
But I do think this is a game where the Eagles might be able to cover whatever the spread is.
I'm looking up live on the show, pulling up the spread for the people. Let's see.
Because I'm thinking that has to be about double digits as well.
Coming out of this week, they are 9.5-point favorites over the Cardinals.
Oh, 9.5.
Courtesy of Bet MGM.
That's an interesting number. But I still expect them to win by at least 2 touchdowns. And if they don't, you'll have more woes this week, maybe more. This is the last regular season home game. So, who knows what we're going to see in that locker room if it's another sloppy game.
I just got to point this out here. It was a foregone conclusion as 49ers got steamrolling. It looked like maybe they were going to beat the Ravens and that they were going to lock up home field. It's not a foregone conclusion that the Eagles are out of it for the 1 seed now, because I'm not sure that the Rams for sure lose the Week 18 game against the 49ers. And in that case, if the Eagles win against the Cardinals and the Giants and the Niners do lose that game, the Eagles would be the 1 seed.
Yeah, and there's a lot at stake. I mean, you talk about this week, the Eagles can wrap up the NFC East with a win. Basically a win and a Dallas
loss.
But if the Eagles are looking at the 2 seed, well, I'll say, we as media and fans, if we're looking at the Eagles to possibly get a 2 seed, it is advantageous for the Cowboys to remain undefeated at home, because that pretty much takes the Lions out of the number 2 seed contention. But then Dallas wins, Eagles win, then it goes down to week 18. Eagles still have
Commanders.
Yeah.
They have
Eagles,
to win, and then the Commanders have to beat the Cowboys, right?
Right. But Eagles, they have to win out, still have to win out to secure the NFC East. And then we could see what happens with the number 1 seed. And I agree with you. With the Rams, even though they can clinch a playoff spot this coming week, and that may very well go down to positioning. And I think, and I'm just going to out anything scientific, I'm going to predict that if things are still up for grabs, with San Francisco still maybe needing the number 1 seed, and the Rams maybe need to clinch a playoff spot, or where they want to be locked into a certain opponent or a certain seed, we may see that San Francisco LA game, we may see that as the Sunday night football game, as the flex.
And it'll matter. And McVay, they've got a thing going from their back in the days on the Commanders.
You look at Matthew Stafford. He, ever since he's been healthy, he's been back healthy. I mean, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And historically, within the past few years, these Rams 49ers games have been very competitive. So it's certainly not going to be an easy thing for San Francisco. I expect them to beat the Commanders this week.
Absolutely.
Because I just think they're just on the verge.
Run roughshod over them.
Yeah. So, but I think it is going to come down to San Francisco, LA, for playoff positioning. And we'll see what happens. And
I'm going 41-3 Niners this week against the Commanders.
41-3 Niners. Yeah, that sounds about right. Because they're probably going to be angry. They're probably going to be, pissed off, and just everything goes down to week 18. So it's going to be interesting. And we presume that the Eagles are going to win out. I mean, I'll go with that. I'm very confident the Eagles will win out.
Absolutely. I would give my confidence in that at 8, that they win out. So that's pretty high.
I'll even go 9.5.
Well, to do that, it'd be great to have Avonte Maddox back. It looks like, because it was a possibility that he was going to come back. He was talking about it'd be the best feeling in the world last week. I think he comes back this week. Do you think he probably makes that return this week?
I think it's 50-50, because I'll say this. Because guys like Ringo has played well these past 2 weeks, and also Ricks.
Yes.
Well, with Slay still having an injury, we may even see Maddox probably getting a few plays. I don't think he's going to play a whole lot.
He's got to get warmed up. Yeah, he's got to get warmed up. Get some live game action before the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're going to have him see some action this week and the following week. But I think they're going to try to preserve him, and then also try to monitor Slay to see when he's ready as well. But I have been impressed with Ringo these last couple weeks. Of course, he ended the game with that interception. But when you look at his numbers, I mean, Giants, I'm surprised the Giants didn't try to pick on him more. I guess that shows you how bad the Giants are. But I do think Maddox will play some, just because Slay is out. They'll start Ringo again this week, and probably against the Giants again. And we'll see some action with Maddox to try to get him back in football shape. And that's probably the most important thing that they're going to look at.
We'll take another quick commercial break before we get into our Week 17 picks.
Whole lot that we left out there, whole lot that I left out there. Season not over. Looking forward to, these next 2 weeks cleaning everything up.
Like, how confident are you that you can fix it?
I have all the confidence in the world that we can fix it. I'm never going to doubt it that we're not going to be able to fix it. But, run out of time. We got 2 weeks. We got 2 weeks to get it together.
All right, we're back, OJ. Let's get into some of this week's games. Football always matters at this point in the season. People always love to play spoiler. You got teams people would have expected in Arrowhead on Christmas. The Kansas City Chiefs lose to the Raiders, so you can always see interesting football, interesting things going down. Their storylines always dramatic. So really, there's not a lot of rollovers, is my point, long story short. Lions are at the Cowboys. The betting line is starting at 6.5 Cowboys. Who you got in that one? That'll be on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think this could be a very competitive game. Of course, has all the playoff implications. Again, Lions wanting to get try to have an inside track to the 2 seed. Cowboys is playing for the division, of course, even though they are in the playoffs, at least as a wild card. But I think I'm just going to go chalk here and just have the Cowboys at home. I don't know if they'll necessarily cover, but, they're undefeated at home, and I don't see that changing this week unless, Dak somehow collapses and he throws a couple of turnovers, which he's capable of, because I think the Lions are good defensively as well as they are offensively, but I just default to the Cowboys on this one just because they've just been so dominant at home.
They need this one. I think this is one of those. I think this is feelings talking. I think this is the one last time the Cowboys ride high into the playoffs. They get another dub next week. They still lose the East to the Birds because of strength of schedule. I think the fifth tiebreaker is what it would come down to in that case, which is interesting. But I think that's how that goes down. They beat a good team in the Lions. I think they beat them probably by 3, but I think they will get the W. I think the NFL just is better that way. Bring it a little more drama.
A little more drama. I'm sure they will love it because they're just ready right now with their computer scenarios as far as what games are going to be on Saturday, what games are going to be on Sunday, and who's going to be that last Sunday night game. So, but yeah, I like the Cowboys.
One that could go a long way in deciding a division. You got the Saints at the Bucks. Bucks are 3-point favorites. Fascinating. Baker Mayfield, franchise quarterback of the Tampa Bay Bucks. You got the Bucks in this one?
Yeah, it's interesting because people are already talking about what is Tampa Bay going to do this following year as far as Mayfield, because he is a free agent.
Give him another year. They got to give him another year. Give him a 2 year, something like that.
Well, at what price? At what price? Because he could, he could probably start for a number of other teams, right? So, but I think the Bucks are going to win this game because I think they've been playing good football. Saints not as well. You never know what you're going to get with the Saints, especially with David Carr, or should we say Derek Carr, David's brother, I should say.
Yes, yeah. Hey, sometimes is there? It's like the Spider-Man meme. There are moments.
Exactly, and you never know what you're going to get with him. Saints have been pretty much inconsistent all year, but Tampa Bay has that momentum going. And, you go back about a month or two, people were talking about Todd Bowles possibly getting fired there. So obviously looks like Baker Mayfield's going to save his job. But I think because the game is in Tampa, I like the Bucks in that one.
Dolphins at Ravens. Ravens are 3.5-point favorites in that one. That one's going to be it could be a serious AFC championship preview because Chiefs are not looking so hot at the moment. So more likely than not that we have a non-Chiefs AFC championship for the first time in a while. In this one, though, who do you got?
Yeah, this is interesting as well because you have 3 teams now who are fighting for the number 1 seed in the AFC. Baltimore is in control, and then you have the Dolphins, and then you have Cleveland. Who'd have thought, right? Who doesn't even have who has old man Flacco. That's a story in of itself. But anyway, the Ravens had to be a little careful here because they're coming off this high from winning, beating the crap out of San Francisco, kind of like taking their heart physically also.
Yeah.
And, the Dolphins are coming in too. They played well against Dallas, but they also, left a lot on the table, a lot of points on the table. So I think this is going to be a good game, but I do really like what the Ravens are doing defensively. They just don't let teams beat them defensively. And you look at the Ravens' 3 losses has been, their ineptness with offense, and maybe a couple turnovers here and there. But I do like the Ravens to kind of squeak it out. That looks like it's Ravens is getting 3.5. That
Yes,
may
they
just
are.
be a 3-point game. Maybe we get a Tucker field goal at the end.
It's going to be a really good football game, and I think it's a part 1, just like you have a part 1 of the Eagles and Niners. I still believe that you will have a part 2, and I think this is part 1 of that series. I think AFC Championship part 1.
I would love to see it.
Sunday at 4:05, Steelers at Seahawks. It's a Super Bowl rematch of Ben Roethlisberger's first Super Bowl. Going to Seattle. Seattle's getting 3 point, the customary 3 at home.
Yeah, I like Seattle in this one just simply because they're home. This just could be one of those games to where, okay, who's the home team, and you just go with them. And whether it's going to be Geno Smith, whether it's going to be Drew Lock, you don't know who's going to be a starting quarterback, but it looks like Geno Smith is healthy and he's going to probably go the rest of the way. I do worry about Pittsburgh's quarterback position. We don't know when Kenny Pickett is coming back. We don't know what it's going to be. You certainly can't trust Mitch Trubisky, especially probably even longer than a game, maybe even not longer than a half.
No, a quarter.
Right.
Precisely 1 quarter. You can do 1 quarter Trubisky, just like you do 1 quarter of Mariota. And I need some Mariota action. Eagles, by the way, if anybody's listening, I need some Mariota action. We need to put somebody away and bring him in.
Depending on what the schedule is in week 18, if the Eagles are already seeded, you're probably going to see Mariota, but I don't think we will. Maybe about the second half or something, but I don't think we will see Mariota.
Put the Cardinals away. Put the Cardinals away. That's what I'm saying.
Help. That would certainly help.
Put them away.
Yes, but just going back
week 18. Yes, going back to the original game with
going back to Steelers Seahawks. I like them just simply because they're home and just the uncertainty with the quarterback position with Pittsburgh.
Absolutely. And I think Kyle Rudolph it was fun for a week.
Kyle
I think
Rudolph,
this is a
Mason
real comeback.
Rudolph,
I'm sorry.
Rudolph,
Mason Rudolph.
Rudolph
yes,
the Red-Nosed
Rudolph
Reindeer. It don't matter. So I like Seattle at home. Same thing I was going to say.
Miracle.
Same thing I was going to say. Tommy DeVito, Danny DeVito. Hey,
right. And that's what I was telling folks, and they got and people were like, "Do you think that the Giants have found their franchise guy?"
Did they give you the gesture too?
Gosh, the agent thing was just it was just fantastic. It was awesome.
Would you buy a used car? Would you buy a used car from that guy?
No, not a chance. Now, is that profiling? Yeah, but no. Yes, absolutely. No, he looks like a hustler. He just looks like he was on the sideline.
I know most. I won't say I know most. I know a good amount of who the agents are. Why haven't we heard about this guy before?
You know why we have it? Because he's somebody. It's my cousin Vinny. That's why. Hey, Vin.
It's a perfect my cousin Vin reference. But anyway, I digress.
Are you sure?
Hey, Vin beat the case. Vin beat the case for him. Hey.
Well, he probably didn't make DeVito some money. If it's either in New York or somewhere else, he probably will be somebody's backup somewhere.
Oh, for sure. And it
Yeah.
will be New York.
Yeah.
They could get Baker, and that would be a good move for them. They
Poor,
could get
poor Tyrod,
Kirk
though.
Cousins.
I mean, Tyrod is always, the guy who's picking up the sloppy seconds, in this case, sloppy thirds. Like poor Tyrod Taylor, man. He needs to get on that Ryan Fitzpatrick backup quarterback plan.
Yes, he does. Come to Philly. He'd be a nice little second option for Jalen, and
Hey, why
actually
not?
maybe be needed. I would feel
Why-
way more comfortable with Tyrod than Marcus Mariota.
I think I would too. Have a little Huntley action there, just like in Baltimore.
Exactly, two guys, and if we have to miss a game, we don't have to really. We have to dress. There's no way 3rd and 20 with Mariota is an inside zone for 3.
That's a draw. That's a running back draw up the middle.
Yes, no question about it. 3rd and 20, no question. Bengals at Chiefs. We talked about the Chiefs earlier. Not looking so hot. 9-6. Got the same record as the Bills, and a lot of other comparatively. They're in a lot of ways they're just like the Bills this season, who have beaten them now, but they're getting 8 points against the Bengals at home. Do you think that they win? Do they cover the 8 points?
Who would have thought the 9-6 Chiefs? Wow. I mean, I think at a time, Mahomes didn't lose 6 games in maybe a 2-year span, but
Right.
I was really, really shocked at how not only the Raiders beating Kansas City last week, but how they beat them.
Right.
So that's pretty scary. But I do think the Chiefs get back on track. I think the Bengals are good. I think the Bengals can go on the road and beat anybody, even with Jake Browning as quarterback now. But I just think the Chiefs will just get right. It's like just similar to the Eagles. I think it's just going to be one of the get right games. They're still going to win the division. I think they can clinch this week with a win. I think they're still going to win the division, and I just think it'll be pretty easy for them this coming week. Andy Reid is pretty good after losses, especially losses like that. They're going to go back to the drawing board. I know Mahomes is not happy. He was screaming at his line, screaming at his receivers, everything. But I really like KC to possibly cover in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's been a lot of disrespectful talk. If guys are not playing well, believe me, if you've listened to the Honorable Mention podcast before, or me, or in other places, I'm going to say that I don't think somebody's playing well. I get that. But people are talking about him with the Pfizer ad, talking about his girlfriend, stuff like that. Travis Kelce, I think people are going a little too far. Guys not playing well, it's okay. There are guys who are not distracted, who are not playing well. And I don't think it's Travis Kelce's fault that they're 9-6. I think there's a lot of receivers not named Rashee Rice who are dropping passes left and right, running the wrong routes left and right, catching the pass, getting open, fumbling. How many times can Mahomes over the years bail them out with subpar receiver play for the most part? And I think, to a certain extent, the luck's running out. They're leaning on Kelce. But I do got to give him that respect. People were disrespecting that man. And I think it's going a little too far.
Well, I don't think you'll find a whole lot of people sorry for him necessarily. Actually, sidebar, actually tried his mother's cookies because in the press box this past week, they had her recipe and they had her cookies for all the press to taste. But not bad. So
wow.
But
those are the perks.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to feel too sorry about Travis Kelce and his
sad life of his.
Yeah. First world problems, right? But
oh yes, absolutely. The upper crust of first world problems. Those are the first world problems of the first world problems. I'm just saying, people think that because you're a star or because you're somebody that people think they know, that people can say anything to you. That's what I'm saying.
Well, when you lose, people look for distractions. So what are they going to do? They're going to look up in the club suite and see what's going on, all the action, all the camera crews. All the all the Swifties, all the Tay-Tay fans, maybe too many making their way into Arrowhead. Who knows? But I still think they'll get right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely get right game. Last game on the slate here of the weekend. No more Monday Night Football. Sunday Night Football. You got Packers at Vikings. Vikings 2.5-point favorites in this one. Who you got?
I always love Packers Vikings games, no matter what the records are. I always love those games because it's just such a historic rivalry. This one is a little tricky for me. You would say maybe the Vikings because they're home, but they did lose last week to Detroit team, which is a better team, I should say. The Packers have been inconsistent, and I'm a big Jordan Love fan, and I know he's has his critics, but what is this? This is his first year starting, right?
Absolutely.
And I think Aaron Rodgers was 6-10 his first year as a starter.
Correct.
So, and you still had the Packers in playoff contention, so they may sneak in as a wild card. And I think I like the Packers to go in there and get the upset. I am very worried about their defense. They need to invest in a good defense, get some playmakers on that side to help Jordan Love out, because he has put this team in position to win even the games that they've lost. But his defense has not helped them out probably the way that they should. But I think I'm just going to go on a flyer here and pick the upset for the Packers to go into Minnesota and get that victory.
This is big. These are big shoes to fill. But on that rollout, that short rollout in the red zone last week, you swap the numbers off and just change it from 10 to 12. And you could have told me that was Rodgers right there. The way he let that thing go with the same velocity, quick arm action. They do this. The Packers do this. They've just moved quarterback to quarterback to quarterback. Only 3 quarterbacks in the last my lifetime.
Yeah,
basically.
Absolutely. Yep. And I think you go to that division period. I think both the Packers are in good shape quarterback wise. I think Chicago is in good shape quarterback wise in that division. You just have to have a front office that is willing to rally around them and build a team, build a franchise where if you do it right, this is going to be your quarterback for the next decade.
Absolutely. You got to give these guys a chance. Jalen Hurts became a better quarterback and a different quarterback, a more confident quarterback when he got A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith is a great player. A great young player, especially if you consider him among the young players in the NFL. He's one of the very good players in the NFL, but it is different when you have a guy that just is better than the other guy. Even if they have a good corner, he's just flat out better than whoever you're going to line him up against. They can make you play better. Get Jordan Love, one of those guys. Jaden Reed's nice. Dobbs is fine. Christian Watson, when he gets on the field, can make plays. It'd be a different situation. Give him a chance. Even you gave Justin Fields. You can see some progression in Justin Fields' game now that he's got DJ Moore.
Exactly.
It's a different level.
The talent is there, and I think Jordan Love has done enough. He has shown enough as a quarterback, even with the talent that he has. I just think what he's lacking is on the other side. Justin Fields, he can use another receiver. He can use a defense. He can use better coaching, I believe, as well.
Who would have thought we'd be, before I let you go, who would have thought we'd be talking about Britton Covey for the Pro Bowl as a punt returner, just the difference maker, just a weapon. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, what I've always said, and I've had people reach out to me on social media and says, "Oh yeah, Britton Covey, he never makes a return. He always fair catches and everything." I'm so happy for Britton Covey because he is a great story. And my philosophy on kick returns, especially punt returns, is just secure possession. Whether it's a fair catch, just catching the ball. You get maybe 10 yards on a return. As long as you don't fumble, as long as you don't muff, you're a good punt returner. I mean, the elite guys are going to run things back, and it's rare. And they're even pretty much just trying to take the kick return out of football anyway. But
yes,
for him to have a good game against the Giants, and I think that goes a long way of him possibly getting Pro Bowl honors. So I'm definitely rooting for him to do so, and I hope he does, because that was a pretty good selection by Howie Roseman, getting them in here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Please go follow OJ Philly on all the handles. Go subscribe to the Philadelphia Tribune. Show some support for what OJ's doing, not just from the perspective of inside the locker room, getting great, insightful bits from the team, from big players like Devontae Smith, but also taking you behind and with the DJ of the team and finding all of these different nuggets. Will Chamberlain's family having different nuggets from them. Thank you all so much for listening, and show support to OJ. Thanks.
Thank you, man.
But man, what a weapon! Like, if I don't know, y'all have votes for Pro Bowl? Do y'all have votes? I mean, geez, vote for that guy. Like, who's returning the ball better than him? Who's a better return man in the NFL, punt returner in the NFL than Britton Covey? And shoot, he put one on the ground. He's upset about that, but man, he changes games. That first one after the defense gets a big stop, and then Britton coming and doing what he did. I mean,